Hello, everybody. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Georgianna.
And this is Wholehearted Loving, where we teach you simple tools to grow the muscles you need to be with big feelings and overwhelming sensations in your body.
Whether you have active challenges in your life or relationships, or whether you're just here to learn to be kinder to yourself, we pull out all the little things that make life feel better, the things that give you a sense of hope and direction.
So if you're too hard on yourself or on others,
if you want to feel real, deep connection in your life and relationships,
even if you want to reprogram your inner critic while you're sleeping,
this is a great place to be.
So welcome, and we hope this episode brings you just the tidbit you needed today.
Enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about shadow work, continuing this lead up to our conscious relationship training that's starting on November 15th. Today we're going to be talking about numbing and not caring and the lifelessness and what that's a symptom of, because there's actually a lot more going on underneath that. You'll be able to find self-reflection prompts for this episode and every episode on our Instagram at Wholehearted Loving, and you can learn more about us and how to practice with us live at wholeheartedloving.com. And before we get started, I'll say I'm in my car today for whoever's listening. What do you think, Gigi? How's it look?
How's what look? You in your car?
Yeah.
Well, what I noticed that I enjoy seeing is the color of the vibrant trees through your sunroof.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Thank goodness for sunroofs.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to walk us through a little meditation this morning, a little process that you can do in your mind that will give you some, what do we want to say? Relief. That's the feeling I get. Yeah.
Can I chime in here before you give us some guidance?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to report something that happens for me when I hear the word meditation. When I hear that, I get this feeling in my body and this in my mind, that's not for me. So if you are like me, you are welcome here and you belong and there's nothing wrong with you. And what's helped me, because these are helpful things to practice. But notice how sometimes, depending on what they're called, we might already initially have a response in the body or the mind, and see if you're willing to be open anyways. If there's a part of you willing to be curious about what this could feel like for you. And if you're like, man, that's tough, I don't know if I can access that curiosity, then I'll offer a little reframe, because I needed a reframe in the beginning. I don't think, there was some curiosity for meditation, but there was mostly the idea makes my skin crawl, because I associate it with, I got to lay still and not have any thoughts and be all zen. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And so for me, also because I know what you're going to guide us through and I love it so much, this particular one feels like playing imagination games, right? And we're very good at playing imagination games that make us feel crappier, because we imagine all the potential poor outcomes that could happen in our life. And if I say the wrong thing and don't do the right thing, oh my gosh, what could happen? That's like playing the imagination game, but in a way that just activates us and doesn't really help us. This little practice that Steph is going to walk us through is a little bit of an imagination game that can potentially feel nice and pleasant. So see if you're open to that.
Yeah. For me, meditation is all sort of imagination games. And the really base level one, the just sitting meditation where you're releasing your thoughts, is like a gift. It's like 10 minutes of where I get to not pay attention to my thoughts. What a joy.
Right. Yeah. And I never associated meditation with that. I associate with 10 minutes where you make me wrong for having thoughts. And I know that is not what meditation is about, but that was what I associated with it, right? It's 10 minutes of you're trying to take away the one coping mechanism that I rely so much on. And you want me to take it away without giving me anything in return to practice using in the meantime or to help me through it. And that, I would say 15 years ago, that was my experience with meditation. And I really thought it wasn't for me until I found that, there's different ways to do it that suit what my system needs right now.
Yeah.
And what I'm able to access now is completely different. But had I only felt like the only way was to lay down on a mat for 20 minutes or 45 and let my thoughts pass through like they're clouds, I would be like, screw this garbage. It's not for me. I must suck at meditating. All these people who say it's great and swear by it are obviously all better than me, and I must suck. Either I suck or they suck.
This is the great shame of language, right? It's such a gift that we're able to communicate with each other, and then it's such a burden when the words mean different things to other people. Like, imagine if you had been introduced to a walking presence practice. So you're able to move your body and you're just noticing what's around you, not having to shut down your thoughts. Like, that is also
And that was what was easier for me, right? I realized I needed movement to be part of it. And like my meditation practice, if you want to call it that, began with foot, foot, foot.
Yeah.
Can I feel my foot when I walk or stand? Can I feel my butt on the chair? That's why you hear me talk about that so much, because that was my gateway. It's not everyone's, but I know for a lot of people who find laying on a mat for 20 minutes or 45 or sitting on a cushion to be just like makes your skin want to crawl, makes you want to get up and run, that there's other gateways to what people call this presence thing. Like, what the heck is this presence thing? I didn't know what that meant. But if someone says, can you feel your foot on the ground as you stand? I'm like, yeah, I know how to do that. I can do that. I feel it.
Yeah.
And then if someone said, well, that's you being present, I'm like, man, why didn't you say that earlier?
Right. So missing.
Why is it so hard?
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's rename this, because I'm not going to walk you through actually the entire process. I'm going to give you the tool and we're going to try it 3 times. And so let us rename it in the moment. This is an unpleasantness relief process.
All of a sudden, like, sign me up.
Great. All right. Well, let's do it. And I'll say that the point of meditating generally is to be free and clear and centered within yourself, right? It's to remember yourself. And that's, I now know, to be a very sensory experience of centeredness. Like, it's a cord inside my body. Thoughts pull me away from that, activities pull me away from that, and then to come back with that presence is really the point. And whatever way you get there is great. And this is just one. So you ready?
Yes.
So, okay, so as usual, we're going to start by feeling our feet, feeling our bums. See if you can find that thread of you. Take a moment with your mind to remind you that you're looking for the thread of you inside your body. Feel your breath. And when you find a moment of stillness, it's going to interrupt it horribly by asking you to recall someone that rubs you the wrong way. That person in your mind. Feel your bum. Feel your feet. Person in there is rubbing you the wrong way. And you're just going to put them on a leaf and send them off down the river. Down the airflow in front of you. Whatever pathway exists in your mind. Put them on that leaf and send them away. Come back to your body. And just notice the sensation in your body and your mind. You know, I like to actually picture myself sitting on a river with the water flowing past me and down. So pick your spot wherever you want to be on the planet. You can be where you are in your chair right now. You can be in an imaginary river, wherever you want. Come back to your bum and your feet. Your breath. I'm going to ask you to summon another irritating person. It could be the same person or a different person. With them for just long enough to get irritated, and then plunk them on that leaf and send them down the river. And this is not in a mean way down the river. You're just not having them with you in this moment. And you're sending them away from your thoughts. Ideally, this should be a relief. We were joking earlier about how meditations can turn into murder fantasies. That's not what this is meant to be, but if it is, let that be it. Come back to your center. Purpose in this moment to find relief from your thoughts. You're choosing to put those thoughts on a leaf and send them away. And bring them back anytime, but the purpose of this moment is to so back to that center. Your feet, your thumb. Take a breath just with yourself. And we'll do the third summoning now. can be any irritation. It can be a person, it can be a rock in your shoe, whatever it is. Notice it, put it on a leaf, and let it go. Come back to yourself. That's us. And just notice how you feel. With urgency, how over your mind. Just
I don't know. I can feel like my eyes feel heavier in this way, not like tired heavy, but like rested heavy. Like my whole, I think I was having some jaw tightness the last couple days. That feels looser. My upper body feels more open. I had a magical ride. Can I tell you about it?
please do.
So at first, when you said bring to mind someone who rubs you the wrong way or something, I think my mind jumped immediately to it wasn't someone who rubs me the wrong way. It's actually more extreme than that. Someone who has hurt me in the past that I feel like we never came to a good resolution, a good clearing, right? It's just sort of hanging there. I just have to live with the fact that I'm not going to get an apology or an acknowledgement for how their behavior impacted me. And so I've done work around that, and I don't walk around carrying much charge about that. But that was the person who came to mind. Let that be okay. And then plunked them on the leaf. And then I noticed this other person who was a rub me the wrong, like rub me in a way that I don't like kind of vibe. And it was so delightful to send them both together. And it was really neat noticing how it felt to visualize them going down this little river. And then there was a point where I was visualizing them going down it, like it was like more like a water slide, a little bit more forceful. Too. They're safe. I knew they were safe, but they were just whoop. And what I noticed is a shift in my posture. So when you said bring these two people to mind, I was sitting a little, and I didn't notice this at the time. I didn't notice until I started shifting. But when they started floating down the river, I leaned back a little and sat more upright. So I, without realizing, I was leaning forward, thinking about these people. And then as I visualized them going down the river, something shifted. It was like, oh, I can just settle a little bit more and just be a little bit more with me. And then I don't remember what the next prompt was, but initially, I guess it was just seeing this through, right? That I'm just allowing them to be further away from me, right? These thoughts about these people. And all of a sudden, then I totally leaned back into my chair and had this relaxed feeling of, I don't have to have that swirl in my mind and in my body right now. I can create some distance from it. Right. And you mentioned something about creating distance, and it made me realize this is not always only just useful for people who rub you the wrong way. It could be people who you adore, who like you really want to care for or tend to, but right now is not the time to be consumed with thinking about them or thinking about what you want to do for them. Because for whatever reason, you need a little bit more spaciousness to focus on something else or focus on yourself. And I thought, like my kids, like I wouldn't be sending them on a leaf down a river because I don't want anything to do with them or I want them to be further away from me. But it's for this 20, I really want it to be about me, or I really want to get clear on something in my life that has nothing to do with my kids, or I really need to focus and get this one thing done. And it's not helpful for me to think about what they need and when they need and where they need to be, and that there'll be a time and a place for that. So I thought that was interesting, that this is not just for things we want a permanent or, that kind of distance from. Sometimes I just need to be able to have a bit of distance from this thought or this person or whatever, so that I can have a little bit of space for something else for a bit. And the other thing I noticed was then I experimented, well, what if it's this to do, this sort of nagging to do that's sort of consuming me in the mind. What if I put that on the leaf? And I'm like, whoa, but if I put that on the leaf down the river, what if I forget? And so I put it on the leaf down the river off to the side in a little whirlpool. But then I noticed, no, I'm still too present with it. Like I can still feel the energetics of it being close by, that I'm not fully in that, this is my space. And so I thought, well, what if I let it flow all the way down to the end of the river? And there's like this little like catch point that anything that needs to like stay and like be dealt with later or thought about later or tended to later, it gets a nice collection point at the end. And you just get to go there when you want to, when I want to actually go tend to it. I get to go down there and collect it. All right. So for me, this is symbolizing like, can I be intentional about what I keep in my close focus and with me, and what I allow to sort of have some distance, with the intention and the knowing that I can always choose to come back to it when it's needed or when I want to. So there was that. And then how can all these noticings happen from something like this? Anyways, always blows my mind. The next thing was, I think we were trying this with more and more different people. I started to notice as I put them on the leaf and they're going for a ride down the river, when they're still pretty close to me, I feel a certain kind of activation in my system that is not the same as that feeling of relief, a feeling of like spaciousness. But what I noticed is this: if I visualize them floating further down the river, it changes. What happens in my body changes. That softening begins to come. So I thought that was neat, of like, if I have them floating, but it's still too close. Have you ever been on a water slide on one of those inner tube things? And you're at the top and you got a butt scooch before you like get enough momentum to get over that first bit to go. It's sort of like that. I saw them on the leaf and they're sort of out of the corner of my eye, ready to go down this river, but they're sort of like stuck there a little bit. So they're not right next to me. They're a little bit ahead, but I don't see them with enough momentum down the river yet for it to give me a relief. But once I visualize them like floating further and further away, further down, I'm like, oh, I'm starting to feel that relief now, that spaciousness.
Isn't that incredible? Just the memory of a person can cause our nervous systems to have this response. It's like they don't need to be with us. They're with us always.
They're haunting us all the time.
But you have the option to put them on a leaf and send them away. I was doing this the other day with a couple in my mind, and it gave me a new level of compassion as well. I felt the relief of them going away from my centered space, and they were delighted to be with each other on the leaf. And I was like, oh, they're great. Like they enjoy whatever this is. They can go off on their leaf, and isn't that nice? Which is a far cry from an initial irritation.
I think this is such a great realization. So this makes me think of, you said, I had so much more compassion for them. And what I'm taking from this is, when you have more spaciousness in you and your body, you have more access to compassion. Like, you already as a human have access to compassion. But when we're activated, our nervous system is dysregulated, we're feeling overwhelmed. It's actually very hard, depending on the level of activation, if not impossible, to touch into compassion, because compassion is part of that ventral vagal nervous system state, right? It's a very different nervous system state than that sympathetic activation or the dorsal shutdown. And so I love that you're essentially saying, when I give myself some of the gift of some spaciousness from these people, even if it's just visually on a leaf down a river, all of a sudden I can see them as human again. I can see our shared humanity. I can see the innocence in them, or some of the softer points, or some things that I enjoy about these people. Right. And it's a good reminder that sometimes when people are either physically or energetically or emotionally or in your mind just too in your space, whether it's they put themselves there or you draw them in, or they put them there and you don't set the boundary to have them take a step back, whatever the reason is, that we can just get into the, oh my gosh, you're driving me insane. I can't stand you. This is all too much. This is not the right connection for me. When in actuality, it could be, I just need a little bit more spaciousness. And I have to practice just using my agency to help create some of that spaciousness, so that I can check in and see, like, how close do I want this person? Do I want this person around? Do I want them around right now? Do I want them around for a relationship? Which is all very hard to notice when they're just sort of, metaphorically speaking, on you, right? And it makes me think of attachment, right? For those people who have learned to protect themselves through withdrawing and avoidance because they feel smothered and overwhelmed and like they're going to lose themselves. Often what I hear is that they're like, well, once I distance and run, as they'll say, once I run or withdraw, I feel so much better. But then they'll say, initially, I'll feel so much better. And then it's in that being apart that they say, oh, but then I realize I really miss that person. I really actually enjoy that connection. There's a lot that I value there. And they feel all confused because they're like, but I thought that they were too much for me and we were not the right fit and all the blah, blah, blahs. And I felt so good when I walked away from that. And they're starting to see that maybe there needed to be a little bit more spaciousness, but how do I bring in some spaciousness without necessarily severing connection if that isn't actually what's helpful or needed?
Mm.
And sometimes it is important to sever connection, but oftentimes it would be helpful, I think, to be more curious about it.
And here we've arrived naturally back to the topic of the day, which is effectively avoidance, right? Numbing, not caring about things, not creating that spaciousness that we need. And we can't because we've numbed ourselves to everything because it was too hard to feel when we were little. We didn't have any space. You said, I wrote this down. Oh, this is my space. That's like the crux of everything for me. That is our place of agency. That is our place of being completely outside of a victim mindset. We're taking ownership for our space. We're choosing spaciousness.
Yes.
There's a saying in popular culture right now. I'm sure you've heard this, not today, Satan. And I know what.
Oh, yeah. Not today, Satan?
Yeah, not today, Satan.
Mm-hmm.
That is like an angry victim mindset that totally makes sense, right? It's just like some external thing. I am not having this. It's this intense, boundaried, you're my problem, get out of here kind of thing. Sometimes that's legitimate. But nowhere in there is the, this is my space. There's no choice in there, right? There's kind of more of a knife than a choice. And what I want to emphasize for everyone is that choice is always there. It's this inner sense of agency and taking your time and taking your space. And we can't do that if we've numbed ourselves to everything. If we're, in denial of everything and avoidance of everything, if we're only creating separation. There's more than that. There's a holistic approach. And I'm hoping we can talk about that and talk about some of the stuff that's under the root of that numbing, why we naturally go into that place.
Yeah, and I can also see why not today, Satan, that phrase and saying, and even the emphasis, the emphatic nature of it can feel very relieving if you have experience in your mind and body and spirit and energy and emotionally that just everything overwhelms you and everything is on you. That sometimes in the beginning, I know for me, because that statement, although I didn't say it often, once in a while it would come up in conversation with a bit of humor. But it was almost like I had to learn what that emphatic other side was, right? Like, oh, like this is how you create distance? To saying like, no, not today, right? It's an attempt to create distance. But like you said, it has such an aggressive energy to it. And it leaves no space for like, well, what about the part of me that actually values that or enjoys that, but it's just too much for right now, right? Or, all the nuance that there's no space for with that. So if you need to go to that extreme in the beginning to create some spaciousness or even let yourself know there's an option to have something not in your space floating around today, use it.
Mm-hmm.
But know that it's like a pit stop along the way.
It's a tool.
Right? It's a tool to move towards one day. I think being able to discern when is it necessary to be that emphatic and that boundaried with that kind of energy. And what about every other kind of spaciousness creating strategy that there might be? Are you willing to explore what some of those ones are?
Yeah.
He said, I had said earlier, this is my space. I want to say a little bit about that Because even just notice as you hear me say that, this is my space. Just see what happens for you inside. And I know when I heard Steph say it, something like was like, oh, really? It's my space? Oh, it's like a reminder that there's time, there's space, there's no rush, there's no emergency. Whatever I feel or need, there's space for it, which for a lot of us can be fairly new and foreign to imagine that that's a possibility. And hearing you say that, I got brought back to the experience of being a child. So I did not have this experience as a child, not because my parents wouldn't have wanted to give it to me. I don't think it was on their radar at all that this is something you're meant to give to your children or how you would even do it. But I imagine when I reimagine childhood and I imagine it to look like, what would it feel like if you got to say as a child and you had the feeling, this is my space. And I have my safe person and my safe people here to help me be in this space or keep it a safe space. Right. And it reminds me of what I really tried to do, especially when my kids were young, of helping them create a physical, energetic, and emotional space that they just get to be and feel what's going on. And every time, even if it was hard, even if I was tired, I was able to create that spaciousness for them, that whatever was happening for them, whatever didn't make sense for them, just got a place to land. They just settled. And so it just reminds me of how important it is to learn the tools that help us create the felt sense of, this is my space. And I have safe people or safe pets or things around me that help me feel safe and okay in this space, right? Because now I can sit on the chair and say, this is my space. That feels so good. But if you have been conditioned to protect yourself your whole life and be independent, then this is my space is sort of just another version of I'm on my own. So we're talking about something different here, which is this is my space and I am supported in this life, right? The combination of those two, right? Because imagine how many of us have leaned into independence and avoidance and closing off in order to survive. And yeah, you have this is my space. Nobody's messing with me, but it has a very different vibe.
Totally. That's what I spent most of my life running that program. Yeah. You can't hurt me. I don't care about anything. And I mean, that's such an indicator. Anytime I hear somebody saying they don't care about anything, I'm like, oh, you care a lot about some things deeply and it hurts too much. So you numbed out or avoid it or gotten whatever it is to manage this.
Yeah. So can I tell a little story about how this shows up in different people?
Sure.
So I have a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old. Every year from when they're in preschool, definitely through elementary school, at the beginning of the school year, you get these forms from the school, from the teacher that say, please tell us a bit more about your kid so that we know how to best support them. And I remember for one of my kids, I always wrote this. He's going to seem like he doesn't care and things don't bother him. And he's going to talk like that. And you may even think this is an insensitive child, but actually what's happening, and I can feel myself emotional thinking about this, talking about this. Actually, what's happening is he's a very sensitive little boy. He feels things very deeply to the point where it feels like maybe it's too much sometimes. And so he acts like he doesn't care, or he says things that sound really insensitive to keep some distance from it, right? And we practice at home, of how to name that maybe part of you really does care, but it feels a bit much right now, right? And like when I would sort of drop that possibility that maybe like you could see the tears well up. And that was when I was like, okay, yes, he's still connected to that vulnerable, tender part. He can still see that this is not him. Like, as a mom, I was worried that he would be read, like people would experience him as a jerk of a kid. And I'm like, this isn't a jerk of a kid, although I know that sometimes the way he behaves or things he says might make you question that. And underneath, there's a lot going on feeling-wise. They're big, right? This is a kid who, when he used to do something, let's say wrong, something unhelpful, let's call it that, something maybe unkind, he would run away. And like those are the kids where if you follow at the time what was mainstream parenting, you'd be chasing that kid down, screaming at him about his disrespect and blah, blah, blah about, hey, I'm talking to you. You did something that's not okay. How dare you run away? Right. And luckily I knew that the running away was that not because he didn't care or he was disrespectful. It was because, oh my gosh, he's trying to say, Mommy, this feels so big right now. I feel so ashamed. I don't know what to do with it. Right. And so I remember like just walking in and just sitting with him. You're like, it's okay. You're a good kid. That was just a choice that wasn't so helpful. We'll figure it out. Right. And yeah, it's just, it helps me to remember the humanness and the tenderness and the vulnerability behind the I don't cares.
So when I listen to you talk about these kinds of things, I often like to imagine a world where you're everybody's mom. How different that would be. And as you tell this story, I'm thinking about all the kids who had that experience and never had a place to be held or understood. And so they just got harder and more closed off and more numb and more harsh and more disconnected. And all of these experiences your kid is having in those moments that you're walking him through, we're all having those experiences as adults without the lovely tools that our mom, who wasn't Georgianna, was unable to give us. And that forms the shadow work that we now have to undertake if, as adults, we want to have a different experience in life. And by the time you get there, there's a lot more roiling beneath the surface, right? By now, we've gotten angry about it, and we don't know we're angry because we're numb, right? We're numbing that anger purposefully. And it's not an anger at people necessarily, though it certainly might be. It's more of a cosmic anger at existence and, at the fact of all these unchangeable uncertainties and how annoying it is that, like, we're our own only line of love and defense and agency, and that people can give us assistance, but really at the end of it, we have to help ourselves. We're the only ones who can know what we're feeling and what we need and how to get those needs met. And when we're so angry and numb and shut down, we just don't have access to any of that information. And like, it feels so big living inside of that experience. And it feels so easy to talk about it from an analytical and practical mindset. When it comes down to it, the tools are so simple and the concepts are so simple, like frustrating. You can get angry about how simple these concepts are. Like, what do you mean I just have to do it myself? What do you mean I can just feel my feelings? Like, that even seems so enormous initially.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these things are underneath that numbness and that I don't care. And also in there is a huge amount of care and a huge amount of feeling that is both manageable and helpful and informative. And we've just been so scared of because it didn't have a place to land, and now as adults, it does. And we can choose that if we want to.
Yeah. So like these two polar opposite ends of the spectrum of I don't care and it doesn't bother me, that restricts the flow of life force energy, right? Like, how much life force energy can there be when you walk around claiming you don't care about anything and it doesn't bother you, nothing bothers you, and you don't care about anything or anyone? And then there's the flip side, which is I care about everything and everyone and I feel it all. And you might feel energy, but I wouldn't call that life force energy.
Yeah, that's something, I almost want to use the word sinister. Like, that's an incredible flipping of what's going on inside, right? Our feelings are too big or unavailable. So we put a huge amount of passion into the feelings and potential feelings of other people, or, all the problems of the world, which are legitimately problems that people can do some things about. But when we're just projecting our own unwelcome feelings, the feelings that we don't know how to be with, and we're just putting them out into the world around us and caring only about other people effectively, that's going to be maybe helpful in some ways, but it's avoiding the self.
Right. So here, I think that, in conscious relationship training and the shadow work practices that we guide people through, I think a big part of what we're doing is learning to reclaim and own the part of me that cares. The part of me that cares about other people, the part of me that cares what happens out in the world, the part of me that cares when things aren't going the way I'd like. Owning that part that cares. In order to own the part that cares, we need to learn how to be with the sensations that come with that.
Yes.
Because there are sensations that come with caring. Whether it's I love you so deeply, or this matters to me so much, or I care about it so much, it hurts me, it pains me deeply when it's not going well between you and I, or when I'm seeing people suffer. Like, who wants to own the fact that they care and own that part of themselves when you don't have the tools and capacity to feel the big sensations and feelings that come along with that? Why would you want to? It makes so much sense that you decided to not care, right? And then on the other side, we're also learning how to own the part of me, reclaim the part of me that cares about me, that cares about my ease, my well-being, my being treated well by others. Because I definitely lost connection to that part of me. Like, when you're a child, and this is like not bashing my parents, but this is my lived reality. When you're a child being spoken to from a place of anger by your parents and a place of criticism, and they also love you and they're nice to you sometimes, you start thinking, oh, like maybe care, like maybe pleasantness for me isn't what I'm meant to experience. Maybe ease isn't what I'm meant to experience. Maybe this unconditional love, being treated well and spoken to nicely by others, isn't what I'm meant to experience. Right. And so, along with that, over time, I think I lost touch with the part of me that is meant to care about me.
Yeah.
Right. And when you are thinking about reclaiming the part that cares about you, my goodness, now it means I need to set boundaries. Now it means I need to go after the things I desire in my life. Now it means I need to sit with the knowing that sometimes I'm not treating myself well. Oof. Those come with big feelings and big sensations. So again, why would I want to own that part of myself if I don't yet have the capacity to be with that stuff? And I think that's what we get to practice together in our group work, whether it's priming or conscious relationship training, is like how to reclaim these parts while growing the nervous system capacity to be with the sensations and the feelings and the stories that the stuff churns up for us.
Totally. And the rewriting of the stories also brings up all of those big feelings, right? Like, if you've experienced love looking a certain way that was painful for you, ta-da, that's your definition of love. Like, you might see Disney princess love and think, well, that's for Disney movies and nothing could be unconditional or easy. Because it genuinely, you can't get it into your head that that's possible, right? You might anything is possible. Those might be the words that you say. But when it's like, oh, could love just feel nice? It's like, well, but it'll probably include this and that and the other thing. Like, we can't even let our minds go there into the possibility space outside of our experience. And that's really part of the important stuff as well.
So really, you're saying, like, at every stage of this transformation and this rewriting, right, and the shifting of patterns, there's going to be stuff that feels icky and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to not just be working on an intellectual level with this stuff, right? But on a body level, and growing the skills at the same time to be with what gets stirred up. Because that's what we didn't have. We didn't have the tools and the support to be with what got stirred up as children, which led us to shutting it all down and going into our heads or completely disassociating in the first place.
Totally.
Right?
I actually think some of the most detrimental to us blocks that we have are around love and ease. And that can be the hardest stuff for us to feel, because it's easy. We're used to feeling awful. We're used to doubting ourselves and feeling insecure and bad and wrong. So when it comes to the idea that maybe we're good, parts of us are loving, we care about things, people care about us, that can be really hard to process. And a huge amount of sensation comes out of that. I think the sensation of love and our stories about not deserving it are some of the biggest sensations we can experience.
Yes, for sure. And yet ultimately, when we start to sort of lower some of those protective walls and start reclaiming the parts that care, when we're honest with ourselves, I think we realize I do want to feel love, and I do love, and I do care. And I also want to experience care. Right. And it's all a little journey of rewriting. And this work is like, I get excited now at the next layers and the next layers, because I know that with each layer, I'm coming closer to my essence and like learning how to be with just me as I am. And I know that initially there's going to be a period usually when you do growth or healing work where you're like, are you freaking kidding me? Are we not done yet? I thought we were done with this. But like, I love that there's new discoveries all the time. And I think part of that is seeing that everything that triggers you has a gift in it for us, right? I'm not saying that we should all, celebrate everything that's happened to us that was harmful or hurtful or not okay. I'm just saying that there's something for us to be curious about in the things that we experience. And I guess what I want to say here is I want to extend some compassion to myself and those of you who are listening who experience this. The excitement that comes when you realize a belief you once had is no longer true. So I'm talking about shifting into a new belief that initially might feel good. And then comes the holy crap. Well, if that's true, then what? Right? If I am lovable, then what? If I do deserve a loving relationship, then what? And I just want to name that can feel exciting and scary at the same time. And that you're not meant to just blow past that just because all of a sudden you're like, wow, I wanted to shift this belief about life or myself or people or relationships for so long. And now that it's starting to shift, I feel fantastic. That might not be your experience. You might feel some relief or some excitement for a bit. And then there might be like, holy crap, what does this mean?
Many downstream effects.
Right? And this is the invitation to just let it all be what it is and trust in the unfolding and know that what needs to happen next will become clear over time.
Yeah. What a gift to really know that now. That's probably my saving grace. We're in the middle of something. We're going somewhere. This too shall pass in a really empowered way.
Yes. So this reminds me of how much we get caught up, and especially when we're working with people who are new to this and super courageous, learning to shift patterns and just noticing how stuck we can get on, okay, now that I know this, what do I need to do? What should I do? What should I do? What do I have to do? Right? And I've been there before. You've been there before. And anytime it is not an emergency, like an actual emergency, and you notice that you're really spiraling and what should I do? What do I have to do? What should I do? It's a good sign to just hang with what's there, because actually probably nothing needs to be done in that moment. And whatever you choose to do in that moment, as we all know with hindsight 2020, might not be the best choice anyways, or the most helpful, because we're approaching making a choice from an activated place, from a fear-based place. Right. And so
there's a story that Phil tells all the time. This is some old Buddhist story, I want to say. I clearly don't have the details, but basically it goes that there's a town that's had a horrible drought and they need rain. So they bring in all of these rain experts to try to fix the problem, and also a monk. And the rain experts are going around trying to fiddle with everything, do whatever. And the monk just goes and sits in his room and centers himself. And on the third day it rains. And it's because he centered himself. He drew the truth and the need to himself. He opened himself up for spirit to move through. So many times all the thinking and doing is not going to get you anywhere, but a moment of stillness, the answer reveals itself.
Yeah, and if we don't know how to be with the uncomfortable sensations of stillness, we won't want to be still, right? So it makes total sense to go into your mind and go into the what should I do? What should I do? Like, this is not about shaming us when we go into that, but it's recognizing when I go into that heady kind of place and spirally kind of place, it's most likely because part of me feels afraid and unequipped to be in the stillness, to be with the sensations that arise.
Yeah, all the thinking and doing is numbing ourselves from the feeling.
So, and like, this is where it gets like deceptively tricky sometimes, is when you find yourself talking about your healing and your growth a lot versus talking some and pausing and feeling what comes up in your body. Taking a pause, resetting, talking a little bit more, feeling a little bit more, right? resetting and just on repeat. And this can lead to a lot of people who come to us and say, I've done decades of growth and personal, healing work, and nothing's changing in my life. Like, what the heck is happening? And then we practice some of these very simple tools with them, and they're like, oh, this is what has been missing.
Right.
This is the piece that makes the difference.
Cut us off abruptly because my device is overheating, apparently.
Okay.
Could we move into a closing practice all of a sudden?
We can do that all of a sudden. The moment is calling for something different. So we can continue this conversation another time, another day. So a closing practice. Let's go with, since Stephanie's phone is overheating, just imagine what it's like to be in a room. Let's actually, we were with water before. Imagine what it's like to be in water that's just the right temperature. You get to kick your feet in, or you get to dive in head first, assuming it's safe. What kind of feeling, what kind of temperature water would feel best for you? Stephanie disappeared, and it's okay. She'll come back. So just noticing what that might be like. Or if it's hard to imagine that, let me give you something different. I might be able to connect with this a little bit more right now, which is if you could have a drink right now, what temperature would it be at? What would feel best for you? Maybe you know right away. I think for me, it's something cold or cool. And then just take a moment to imagine drinking that. Even as I imagine, I notice I want to sit back. And then I want to sit back some more. I'm not going to, because then you won't hear me through the mic, but it makes me want to sit back and relax, thinking about taking this drink that's just the right temperature. Right, so notice what it does for you. Imagining taking a sip of a drink that's just the right temperature for you right now. And if it's not clear to you what would feel best, try out a few. Imagine drinking something really cold. Imagine drinking room temperature. And imagine drinking something really hot. And see how your body lets you know and gives you different signs of which one feels the closest to what would feel nice. And see what starts to happen in your body as you imagine each one. Does something change in your posture? You have an impulse to do something different? Does breath shift for you, or a sense of spaciousness? Or maybe it's like a little smile comes on your face, right? So there's an invitation to notice when you pair temperature of drink with a little bit of imagination, what happens in your body.
Hello.
Hello. Stephanie's back.
My phone overheated, and so I just took a break for a few minutes, and in those minutes reflected on how much I would have freaked out years ago if this had happened. And then we thought we should talk about that for a couple minutes.
So when you say would have freaked out, what do you think are the stories that would have been running through your mind if that had happened in the past?
Well, first it would have been, so my phone just like shut off. And although I had said, hey, my phone's overheating, that thought would have left my head. Like, obviously you knew what happened, but old anxious me would have been like, Georgianna doesn't know where I went. I hope she doesn't think I just like hung up on her. I would have jumped ahead to like, oh God, what will the listeners think? As if I can't edit all of this out. A bunch of stories of unprofessionalism and not good enough, and I should have this and I should have that, and what if so-and-so thinks this or that? Like, just none of that exists for me anymore.
Right. So like having none of that exist, what did you notice happening in your body? What was your body experience of what just happened for you?
It was great. It went, guess it's a good time to go to the bathroom.
Right. And it's funny because Steph called me after, I guess, your phone reset or whatever. And she said to me, thank goodness you're such a chill lady. And I had a chuckle because I'm like, well, I certainly wasn't a chill lady in the past, right? And not that there's anything wrong with not being a chill lady, but it was just a recognition. I don't even think that's a word, but it's just recognizing for myself how much has shifted over time, because I realized I don't want to run those old stories anymore, right? Because they don't actually feel good in my body. Because this whole process, I just updated Steph on what happened. I said, yeah, you went away. So I just finished the closing practice and then I logged off and I was going to go eat some soup. I was feeling very chill. And like my inner body experience was so calm. And I
Mhm.
know in the past, the stories that would have run would be like, holy crap, she just disappeared. Like, not as in like you did something wrong, but I am now by myself. What am I supposed to do? And there probably would have been a panic that would have thought like, should I just stop the recording and hang up? Should I like say something about what happened to her? I'm in the middle of walking us through a closing practice and like my brain would just go to all different places trying to run scenarios. And that wouldn't have felt good in my body. I know that for sure. And it was very cool this time to be like, she's gone. Well, here I am. And I'm like, let me just feel my butt on the seat and carry on. Right. And then there came a point where I'm like, well, the practice is done. And so I just said, okay, bye. Which, like old self would have been like, oh, do I need to say something important or profound about wrapping up the episode? And I'm like, I don't even know what I would say right now. And I'm like, okay, bye. Seems perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And right, my old self would have said, you have to remember how Steph usually closes the episode. And I think before that, it would have thought, holy crap, Steph usually does the closing. What am I supposed to do now? What am I supposed to say? Will I remember everything she says and say it in a way that makes sense and all the stuff? And I'm happy to report none of it. None.
None of it. Yeah. The feeling, and I think what you're describing, the feeling is we both went, this is my space.
And it's okay. I'm okay. Everybody else will be okay. If you have judgments about what happened and how we should have been more prepared or whatever judgments you want to have, like that is something that I can legitimately say. This makes me sort of laugh because of the topic. I don't care. Right. And that is something I genuinely don't care about. That is not, I'm trying to protect my tender parts. I'm
Hmm.
actually okay with you. And when I say don't care, it's not that I don't care about your opinion. It's I'm not willing to let your opinion of that ruffle how I feel, which is I feel fine about what just happened.
Yeah, that
Right.
thing actually didn't bother me.
Yeah. And you're welcome to think and feel whatever you feel about what just happened. And that's okay. It doesn't make what you think and how you feel wrong about what happened. It just means like I've had enough in my life of caring about what other people think, especially when I'm actually okay about it. Right? Which
Right?
in the past I wouldn't have even known because my okayness would come from your okayness.
Totally. Other people being bothered would have bothered me. Now I'm like, does it bother me? It doesn't seem to. Sometimes it might, but this one doesn't. So, what's coming
Yeah,
up for you? Yeah, it's
right. And it doesn't mean I don't care about you as a listener. Doesn't mean I don't care about the quality of what we put out into the world. It doesn't mean I don't care about coming as prepared as we can. Like it doesn't mean any of those things.
yeah. Isn't that a
Right?
relief?
Just means, hey, that thing happened. It was unexpected. We're going to be okay. Everyone else is going to be okay. It'll be fine.
What a gift. And this is, to reiterate, stuff we learn doing this kind of work. And this kind of
Mm-hmm.
work is available to you starting November 15th. And, you could also just listen to our podcast or join our membership or call us on the phone. And it's all available. It's all possible. More than you might expect is possible. You can feel more okay and unbothered in a genuine, loving way where you care about stuff still. And I just
Yeah.
didn't know that for most of my life.
Yeah. Yes. It's really nice to care and not care and to be very clear with ourselves moment to moment. What and who do I care about in this moment? And what am I not willing to give energy to right now?
I love it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Gigi. Is there
Nice.
anything else you want to say on this topic?
On this topic, just how pleasant it is to feel free of like
Mm,
not working myself up into like all this tension, unnecessary. I really like when you say unnecessary suffering, right? Who cares if we got abruptly disconnected? Nobody died.
yeah,
It's fine.
There will come along something to care about, and it isn't this.
It isn't this. We all have limited energetic resources, right? This is not one of those things I want to give that much time and attention and energy to. I want to save those reserves that I've cultivated to help support me through things that matter. Things that matter. This doesn't matter to me. Or things that matter more.
That's one of the reasons we numb ourselves, because we can't discern what we actually care about. And we either have to care about everything or care about nothing, so we just shut it off. Right? This is a really powerful difference you can make in your life.
Yes. So I wish you freedom.
Me too.
I wish you peace in your body, ease in your body, presence in that, and for you to learn what that means for you, and for you to discover how you access that, because everyone accesses it differently. For you to find your path to what that means, how that feels. Yeah. It's possible.
It's super possible. Yeah. I can do it. You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then that's it for this week. This peculiar week of recording. And, I see you're making some faces.
Yes. I thought first we closed with kissy faces, and then it turned into funny faces.
I love that. And I love to add a funny voice to the funny face.
Hey, I'm hello. I'm right here. Funny voices.
You're very cute.
And this was something I would have never done before. Before shadow work and conscious relationship training, heck no. But I love that I can sit here and make kissy faces at you, Stephanie, on a freaking podcast that has my name attached to it, that lives on the internet forever, and not care. And it feels so good. And I also care about you. And I care about giving out something good and useful to the world. And also, whether I do it with a kissy face or rolly eyes, it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't. I take being silly very seriously. It is important. You should be a silly goose, and so should I, and we should all take ourselves a lot less seriously.
Okay. I'll practice being silly.
Good. And you too, whoever's listening. It's not so serious all the time. And now we will sign off. Thank you guys for being here. As always, please do like, follow, and subscribe. And if anything we've said here today has been helpful for you, please share with somebody that you care about. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.